Chris Paul, congrats to him, moved into second on the all-time assist list. Moved past Jason Kidd. When I say Chris Paul, you think of?
Point guard is the first thing I think of, right? And one of the things I found so significant about this, I loved watching him get emotional when they gave him the cool plaque with all the names of the teams, whatever, the people that he's assisted to, is you celebrate being second on this list because first is just so far off. Like, that's it. Like, right now, like, it's kind of like when James Harden was asked about being second on the 3-point shots made.
Right.
He's like, well, Steph doesn't count. So I consider myself number one, because they make that plaque and they give him that ball because you are not going to get to number one. So we'll celebrate you as number two. But point guard is the first thing I come up with, and like a true definition of the position. A settler, a scorer, a fiery competitor, manipulator. And I think that it's very safe to say that he's not going to win a championship. He's not going to be a major player on a championship team. He could sign with a contender next year, but he's not going to be sort of like one of their best players. But one of the main memories I have of his career is that Warriors-Rockets series when he got hurt at the end of Game 5, a game they won. This is the KD Rockets. I mean, it's KD Warriors. This is KD, Steph, Clay, Draymond. Like, the Rockets had them up against the ropes, had a Game 7 at home, and missed 27 threes. And I think in Chris Paul's career, that was the championship year. That was the one. Like, that Rockets team with James Harden being the best he is in his career, and the shooters they had around him, and Clint Capella was not the Clint Capella that you're watching now on the Hawks. And I really think back to that because I always want these players, these Hall of Fame players, to get a ring. And I really wanted that for Chris Paul, and I felt like that was the year. And I remember where I was. I think everyone remembers where they were during that Game 7, watching 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 be missed. And if he didn't get hurt at the very end of Game 5, they're winning Game 6 or Game 7, and they're going on to play the Cavs.
I feel like it always came down to the end where it was like, it was a groin, it was a hamstring,
Yep.
It was some kind of reason he could not be the fully formed version of himself. And you just wonder how many times over the course of an unbelievable career, if he just could have been himself for an entire series against people. Even, when we got to the Phoenix series against Milwaukee. That was another unbelievable. I mean, that was an NBA Finals. That was an NBA Finals, right? That was an NBA Finals.
God.
And it just feels like over and over again. I covered him when he was with those Lob City Clippers. Because they had just absolute wars against the Grizzlies in those years. I mean, and that turned into a real rivalry.
Yes.
Where everybody hated each other. Yes. But hell of a competitor. There's no way around that. And congrats to him.
It's also worth mentioning the veto of the Lakers trade.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was not really, that was like a commissioner of a fantasy league just be like, nah. You know what I mean?
His whole career is like more so than many others, I think.
Riddled with what-ifs.
Sliding doors moments.
Yeah, it's just riddled with what-ifs. Like you said, sliding doors moments, just one after another after another. And also remember him and David West just being unstoppable? Yes. Like at the very beginning of his career. Yes. Like people look at David West on the Warriors or whatever, but David West and Chris Paul had a real thing going once upon a time.
Also, one of the things that comes to my mind when I think about him is I have always lauded him the year that after that whole Houston thing happened and he ends up going to, they sent him out to Oklahoma City.
That's a good way of putting it. They sent him to Oklahoma
City. And it's we were in this realm of, I don't want to be here, trade me, force trade, whatever else, right? Instead, he took that whole just thrown together team, this ragtag group that, with Danilo Gallinari and that whole group with Oklahoma City.
They had SGA at that point.
And just drug them to being like a real seed with a chance to win in the playoffs.
Oh,
and he didn't want to be there. that was like, wait, what? And instead, he like totally embraced it and became the guy and led them to being so much better than they had any business being.
And Phoenix wasn't exactly a juggernaut before he got there either. That he wasn't
Oh,
ring
no.
chasing. When he went to Phoenix, he was not ring chasing.
Well,
and that team was in the finals.
And in retrospect, he deserves Monty Williams Coach of the Year trophy.
That's a great point.
That should be his.
Revising history.
Yes.
Monty should just give it to him along with that plaque.